Backstage at UFC 209, joined by the boss, Dana White. Dana, you said you scored the fight 3-2 for Stephen Thompson. Can he catch a break here?
You know, this fight, Woodley did absolutely nothing. Okay, he did absolutely nothing, and until the last round. So, you know, the first fight, if it would have been a draw, okay. But if Tyron Woodley won the first fight, you wouldn't go, oh my God, this is crazy. But tonight's a whole nother story.
Welterweight has a lot of prospects, a lot of options. Is that for you good? You do like seeing like, oh, there's several people who can fight for the belt, or do you prefer when there's just one clear contender?
No, I like when there's a lot of people. Obviously, a stacked division is a great division. So, yeah, you know, we have some divisions here that are stacked.
We just touched on it briefly before in a different interview, but let's talk about Alistair Overeem and what he went through in the past 24 hours that most of us were very unaware of.
Right. Yeah, he was so sick. He had food poisoning, and it was looking like he wasn't going to fight. But he kept refusing to pull out of the fight. He went to the hospital twice, and refused to. He said, "I want to fight on this card." So the doctors got him to a point where they were comfortable that he was, you know, okay to compete. And he went in there and, with everything that he went through in the last 24 hours, knocks out Mark Hunt.
Super incredible. He said he's going to keep a close eye on that fight in Dallas between Stipe and JDS. There were some pretty incredible bright spots on this card that come back from Darren Elkins, the debut of Cynthia Calvillo. What did you think about, you know, some of these different fights that weren't the co-main event?
Yeah, obviously Cynthia was awesome. You know, I've never seen somebody transition to the back like that. It was incredible. Elkins was ridiculous. I mean, that was crazy. That guy got hammered from the first minute of the first round right up until he pulls off the knockout. The knee bar was amazing tonight. He too was getting destroyed and pulls out a knee bar. You realize there's only been something like 14 knee bars in the history of the UFC, in the history of even back before, you know, the Zuffa era. And 2 were the Shamrock brothers, and 2 were the brother, you know, Alcantara and his brother were both pulled off knee bars in the UFC.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And before I let you go, you said that you know that Khabib needs to take some time to recover and to heal from these different weight cuts that he's had. He does cut a lot of weight. Tony Ferguson, when he's shown on the broadcast today, doing a lot of belt action here. Is that what's next? Do you think he waits and fights Conor?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's a possibility.
Excellent. All right, thanks for your time, boss. We appreciate it. See you later. Backstage here in Las Vegas at UFC 209, Tyron Woodley, he retained his belt, but look at this face. There's no big smile on there. Tyron, what's going through your mind?
Oh, no, man, it's a close match. You know, you fighting the guy for the second time around. I knew he was going to be prepared. I was prepared. And, you know, it didn't shake out the way I envisioned it. I envisioned myself way more dominant, really not losing around. And, you know, that's what champions do. You know, we put high expectations. My coach trained me really hard. And I don't know if the mics were hot, but if you heard what they were telling me afterwards, you know, they know I was ready to do a different fight style. But you know, it wasn't a C performance. You know, it was still a good performance against a very high-level guy. And, you know, I got the job done. I'm still the champion.
Was there something within yourself that wasn't allowing you to follow the game plan, or something that he did?
You know, it was kind of weird. I was having a weird moment out there a few rounds. I was moving well. I was seeing my shots with my eyes, but my hands wasn't touching the target. And, you know, there was a couple times where he threw something, and we had practiced a lot of touch and go. When he kicks, counter and go, counter and go. And I blocked most of his kicks. He got 1 or 2 through. But in general, you know, just like the last time, I really nullified all his kicking attacks. But I didn't counter, I didn't follow through, and I was successful with the takedown. I could have went for another 1 or 2 of those in the fight, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm the world champion. I went out there and beat a very tough guy. Reminds me of when he fought Rory. You know, when he fought Rory McDonald, Rory seemed a bit frozen, like it was hard to gauge the space because you come in, man, he's really quick with counters. I faked a couple shots, I took a couple jabs, and you know, he was countering with a couple shots already. So I think it just made me a little bit more tentative, and I was waiting for the perfect shot, and I don't think it came.
Did you feel like that fight should have been stopped in the final round where you dropped him?
You know, it's hard to see. I was looking at it on a jumbotron, but man, it looked identical to the last time. The last time I would have said it was a bit closer. This time, man, he was woozy. I was hitting him with uppercuts. I was just trying to find that chin. I was looking around for the chin, and I did everything I could to try to get him out of there.
Did the crowd's reaction affect you at all?
nah, that's why guys get knocked out by Wonderboy. They started giving it to the crowd and said, forget it. I'm going to just push forward. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to just go and make it a fight. And they get clipped with that lead roundhouse kick. So I was lucky enough to be poised, to be mature enough not to, listen to the crowd. But at the end of the day, he's a very tough guy to figure out.
Well, you're very mature in your answers here, obviously. Welterweight's got, a lot going on right now. I know there's Damian Maia, who really wants a shot. What do you think should be next for you?
What next for me is I shoot a movie next week, so I'm excited about that. I got my first supporting role, and then the week after that, I'm taking my family to Puerto Rico for vacation. And over those next 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure some things in the division will shake out. My managers will be in contact with Dana, and then we'll figure out what's next.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Congratulations to you. Backstage in Las Vegas, UFC 209 has just wrapped up. I'm joined by Wonderboy. Steven, obviously not the results you wanted. Did you feel like it was the performance you had hoped for from yourself?
I could have gone out there and been a little bit more aggressive, but I thought what I did out there won me the fight. I tried to pick him apart, just hit and move, because you can't stand there in front of Tyron Woodley without, worrying about his right hand or his takedown. He's got a very strong clinch, so I was very cautious out there waiting for that. So I just tried to pick him apart, kept him away with my side kick, and just stayed on my bike and moved.
Throughout the week, he said that he expected you to kind of run. Do you feel like because you were the aggressor and consistently moving forward, you threw him off his game?
I think so. Especially with the new rules with the cage control, I felt like I controlled the octagon more than he did, having him backing up and back on his bike and moving. But you know what? I think it did. I think it messed with him a little bit, threw him off some, and that's why I thought I ended up winning. I thought I won the fight.
When those scores were being announced, obviously, and you hear Bruce Buffer start to say that it's going to be a split decision, was there fear for you, and do you feel like there was fear from him?
I think so. I think I could kind of see it, sense it in him that he wasn't sure where the fight was going to go. Once he said split decision, I was like, wait a second, I was a little nervous because you can't leave it in the judge's eyes, and well, it goes to show you can't leave it in the judge's eyes. So I could have done a little bit more out there, but what happened happened, and they got to move on from there.
Well, obviously, a lot of fans still have a lot of admiration for you. Other fighters on the roster were tweeting about you. So you've got a ton of fans, but is that something you want to sit back and just kind of think about, or is that something where you want to say, you know what, I want to go right back out there and compete?
You know what, I did take a big shot from that last fight and 2 big shots after that. I want to go back with my coaches and talk with the UFC and see what's next. But yeah, man, if they're willing to get me out there again, I'm ready.
And I'm sure everybody would be willing to see that. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, Steven.
Thought we were going to see an extension of their first fight, meaning rounds 6 through 10, if you will. However, it was not the case. The first fight, a little slow in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Boy, did it heat up in 4 and 5. It's almost like they rewound the tape. They felt each other out in the first 3 rounds. Tyron Woodley really got going in the 5th round. We're all kind of on bended knee here, waiting to hear for the result. It's possible. Gilbert told me this in the green room. It's possible by his math that it's a draw, and I happen to think I might agree with them.
Oh, well, you both would be wrong because the announcement's just been made, and Tyron Woodley has been announced as the winner. And I thought when I was watching it, if one guy is aggressive in the 5th round and he nearly knocked Wonderboy out, that would be the decision. And Gilbert, ultimately, I think that's what it was.
I agree. At the end of the day, he won the fight no matter what the scorecards were because he almost finished them. But I had it 3-1, 2-2 going into that 5th round right there, and Woodley needed to push forward. I was very disappointed that he didn't do this out the gate. Why didn't you push forward out the gate? You can hit him. If you hit him, you can put him down. And he did. He felt the little, he was desperate towards the 5th round, knew he had to make something happen. And he pushed forward, and he landed the big right hand with less than a minute to go and almost finished Wonderboy Thompson. A great finish for the champ.
I can tell you the scores, guys, from the 3 judges, 48-47, 47-47, 48-47 for Woodley. So when you look at it, and Tyron Woodley throughout this entire camp was complaining about this, complaining about that. For the UFC, I think having Wonderboy win would be better from a marketing standpoint. Is this a good result for the UFC?
Hey, listen, it could be. There was a real poor me fighter in boxing by the name of Bernard Hopkins. And over time, Bernard drew. He drew by his complaining. His complaining drew headlines. And to our champion Woodley's credit, Coach just mentioned him on SportsCenter.
Well, that's very true.
And I have to
agree.
I think Woodley is doing a great job of promoting himself. He's had a couple appearances in sports, and he's very well spoken. Yeah, he's not your normal trash talker, but he shows his intelligence and a high IQ in the fight game and I love the way he talks, to be
Coach,
honest.
can I criticize Woodley really fast? Listen,
Please.
he had this major feeling out process where he was warming up. He kept being able to touch Wonder Boy right in the chest, and he was hitting his chest. Wonder Boy's chest was even getting discolored. He wasn't finding his head. He wasn't finding his legs because of the movement. But isn't it better to keep hitting the chest than to hit nothing at all? It was so close, and you even said it yourself when you read those scorecards. One of the judges had it like Gilbert did, 47-47. We were this close to another draw.
All right, we got about 45 seconds here. So we've seen it twice. Do you think because it was so close again, although not as entertaining, that we're going to see this a third time?
No, I think it's time to move on. Woodley did. He dodged the bullet here, and he stepped up in the 5th round, and it wasn't a draw. It was a finish, and he is the champion. I could see if it went the other way, maybe give the champ another chance, but I think it's time for Woodley to move on and Wonder Boy to move on as well.
What's the future for Wonder Boy?
I think we just need a little bit more parity. There's a lot of guys in that division right now, including the former champion Robbie Lawler. Let's bring in some new blood.
Well, I tell you what, George St. Pierre is coming back. We know that. He's going to fight at 185 at first. He may come back at 170. It'll be interesting to see what is going on moving forward in the welterweight division. But tonight, I think a little disappointing for all of us, right? All right. Gilbert Melendez, Chael Sonnen, UFC 209 in the books. Tyron Woodley is still your welterweight champ. Fresh Hour Sports Center, Max and the Coach, top of the